submarine.
What's up, YouTubers? So is it true? Do we all live in a yellow submarine? So, Beatles came out from Travis stock, and I mean, those are just another front for, Masons, which is another front for the true technocrats, the intelligentsia. None, and basically, we've been seeing. I'm not sure if you guys been noticing it, because controlled opposition in these stars in the truth community, when there's only a few of us that are out here actually teaching or preaching or spreading the true gospel, which is of the truth in the truth community, that the truth community has been you could say hijacked, like many things. And they just outed Round Eye Saturn, and then he comes out and then he clears some few things up, so basically damage control. And that people don't know that he's a Mason, and he works, and he's controlled opposition, and so he's MI6, and he usurps as a Christian. See, if anything, I'm a Christian apologist, and don't think you know what that word means just because you think what apologist means. It doesn't mean what the lay might think. It actually just means people who can logically debate why they're a Christian. And so you got all these spin doctors and these controlled oppositions and gatekeepers. Dick Gregory, he has a star in Hollywood. Well, how do you get a star in Hollywood if you're going against that system? One of the reporters said Israel is occupying somebody's land, and they didn't took this journalist's credentials away just for that. So you see what happens when you speak against the system, So, it's these Christians that are Christian in name only, say a couple of buzzwords to get the herd. There ain't nobody coming back, man. There's nobody gonna save you, bro, but yourself. As a Christian apologist would just say, like, somebody stranded on a boat or something, on a raft, and it says, "I'm waiting for the Lord to come," and then a helicopter comes and he doesn't get it, and he says, "I'm waiting on the Lord to come," and then he sends a boat, and it says, "I'm waiting on the Lord to come," then he sends a dolphin or something, and he says, dude dies, says, "I was waiting on you to come and save me." It's like, dude, I sent you a raft, a boat. What I'm saying is, you guys, everyone has accessible this information in the internet, so use it, and use it wisely. I had to unsubscribe from a lot of people, but it's funny, as soon as I started unsubbing, there they go, actually start doing decent work. I guess that's just how nature is. And what I mean is exposing people, and to know who's who and what's and how everybody's led, because the masses have always been asses, and the masses, there have always been people that even if you told them the truth, they would want to change it into something palatable for them and infantile for them. Now, we got a lot of things going on with the TPP, and austerity, and that's actually going to usher in austerity. And I'm not sure if you guys realize it's actually a war on us Americans, our culture, our value, to even everything you think you hear that doesn't seem like an attack on your culture, like my talking about my generation. That's how brainwashing begins. Letting them people think they're on the cutting edge of something, progress. But when you look around, you don't have what your parents have, and the relationships, the homes, the cars, the friendships, the bonds. Speaking of bond, in Europe, UK, they have a new law where if a man is too critical of his woman, girlfriend, wife, whatever, he can be sent to jail for 14 years. Well, basically what they're doing is what the same thing that they've been doing for thousands of years, is breaking the family unit. Even Plato's Republic. So we're talking about thousands of years they've been doing this. Is they know the family unit is what it's really all about. And even the propaganda with Jesus talking about, I would tear father against mother and mother against son. I mean, we're talking about an agenda of tearing the family apart. And like I said, I'm a Christian apologist, so you don't there's some wisdom in there, but then there's some pitfalls in there too. And so that's what you need to be wise enough. And so what's it, the secret masters of fandom, so there's the Ron Paul, the Alex Joneses, but do you know about the Dick Gregory's, this Round Eye Saturn, David Rose, all these people? We're talking about billions of people who are indoctrinated and brainwashed and dumb. So when we start talking about the yellow submarine, they're talking about how everybody is actually on a yellow school bus. Everybody's retarded. Everybody repeats what they hear on TV, political updates. Going back to the European agenda of what they're doing to the European culture, forcing men not to be able to go into relationships because women will test men. That's just natural. That's just Mother Nature. And if you can't run your house, it will fall. That so if your woman wants to go out without a bra and no panties, well, you better not mention anything, because you can go to jail. So it's basically pushing everybody to be wives in common, husbands in common, and promiscuity, because you're not going to have any bonds. And let alone how they're coming after your children when your children are not your children. They already push that. And it goes on the right and the left. When they use one, they use the other, and they use the other to use the right and the left. Bernie Sanders is talking about, well, if I get elected president, I'm going to open up the borders. Not just for the people here, for the children here, but their parents and their parents. And so basically, as austerity is ushered in and how we don't have enough resources, and we're talking about overpopulation, let's just make them more overpopulated in Los Angeles. So we have all the locals, and all of our music goes right out the window and stuff for these political updates. Chinatowns have been in the Western society for decades. They're not going anywhere, So uh not really, as true Americans, we're that ones that made it's funny how like all these people from Chinatown and Mexico, they come into Mexico. I mean, they come to, I called it Mexico. They come to Los Angeles and they want to make it seem just like Mexico and China. Well, if China and Mexico was so great, what are you doing here? Oh, yeah, that's right. It sucked. That's what you're doing here. So why are you bringing your shit here? Why not acquiesce to what's happening here? Now, I'm not saying everything because, American woman, get away from me. There was some truth in that on how America is bombarded with propaganda, and therefore that's why it's American woman, get away from me, because we talk about how promiscuity is so great and whatnot, but who wants to have a whore for a wife? Like I said on the other video, women behave like whores already, and where they'll fuck a guy but not kiss him. That's exactly what a prostitute says. So we have corruption all over, corruption on TV. I was Beyond Straight, where they take these 13-year-old children or 12-year-old boys and they put them around grown criminals and pedophiles, and they threaten them with sodomy. And the analogy is actually thinking that they're actually going to straighten up, but it doesn't happen like that. These kids turn suicidal and even revert to more of a gang because they really think they're going to need protection. So it's just like Dare. Dare was just another way to get you and get the children exposed to drugs. It's like when I first found out about 911, call emergency. That's the first thing I did when I went back home, was call 911. Or when your parents says, don't go in that cabinet and drink that liquor, and then that's the first thing the kid does. And so they're actually nudging the kids, just like with the sex ed, is actually telling them stuff they didn't even think, and getting them to do it. Okay. Acquiescence. New York has been a part of acquiescing to many crimes. 9/11, with stop and frisk. So they're open with their corruption, and New Yorkers, of course, are probably the worst brainwashed people in history. The biggest project ever. It's so much. The Mad Hatter, the Mad Hat, and the Mad Hatter. Oh, look at the time! So psyops and that, and they're so spiritually bankrupt. Where do you begin? So a lot of this stuff is, where do you begin? There's I like some people's work, but not everybody people work with. I can get into symbology of 88 and as above, so below, where it's actually the symbol of God, where God states that I bring peace and I bring calamity. So he's the author of confusion and the author of sanity. So keep going. India, their caste system, corruption, police above the law, where if their life is more valuable than yours, how is that even possible? How is somebody else's life going to be more valuable than yours? How is the president's life going to be more valuable? They're supposed to serve us, not us serving them. Or SMOFs. Oh yeah. So a lot of coonery going on. What's this lady named Lisa Jones? of where they're doing predictive programming on black women, where they're telling them they would be happy off as being a slave. And she's like, yeah, I would have had more dick, and my children would. And so the only thing she's talking about is some damn dick. And she could be her children could be slaves, and she doesn't have to have a life. But you know that's what they do. A lot of everybody you see on TV is pushing an agenda. Everything you hear on television, on the radio, everybody is pushing an agenda. It's a Masonic agenda of the new world, and it's nudging. And a lot of the psyops, check it out, called perception management. They're into perception management. The MI6, the CIA. Check out perception management. Check out the noble lie. There's so many SMOFs, the secret master of fandom, and in political updates and how to think about certain things. What everybody is told through tidbits, information, education, indoctrination on how to think and feel. A lot of times Masons, they like to do jokes on the public that they're not getting. Because you're psychopaths. They can tell you a joke like Round Eye Satan was doing when it says, bless all of you, when blessing means actually to spit on you. Bless means to spit or to spray. If they stab something, you've been blessed with the blood, or somebody ejaculates, or blessing you with the ejaculation, or spitting at you. But the public, basically everybody's, especially Americans, have a form of psychosis, of cognitive dissonance, to the extreme of having a form of schizophrenia. And the Aborigines, they have this thing called I'm Sorry Day. Well, that's very funny. Check out Sorry Day. That's a joke. And so what happens when kids are on the playground? Oh, I'm sorry. Only more to insult. This new hoax that happened, he was wearing a Rhodessa shirt. And it's funny, these people talk about, I'm learning black history, but they don't know who Cecil Rhodes is. How can you even talk about black history and you don't even, maybe because their history. You're talking about stuff that happened hundreds of years ago while these people are operating in the future. And I don't necessarily believe in the future. What I'm saying is the plans on the future and what's being implement now, as above, so below. Just because somebody said something doesn't. So back to the TPA, TPP. It has net neutrality in it. It has, for instance, my friend bought me some shoes, and then it said, warning, these shoes can cause cancer. Shoes that cause cancer. And so basically, you know how you have a warning on cigarettes? Well, let's say in Indonesia, they don't have to put that warning. So in Africa, they can ship off those shoes that cause cancer to your feet. And because the TPP have laws, it's going over government. It's being able to sue the government. It's going to make the government obsolete, and it makes all nations obsolete. Their laws will be obsolete. And it's a race to the bottom of austerity. If you ever want to check out some of this stuff, check out Blade Runner and some other good movies, The Village. But back to sci-fi. A lot of these movies that are into the sci-fi are actually telling you, not just through predictive programming, but that they looked at the plans, because they got the paper out for the Agenda 21. It's just people won't read it because they want to, I don't know, focus on flat earths and goblins and goblins, I guess. So, I mean, people rather be entertained through fiction and fake stuff than actually seeing what's really going on. People are just infantile. Going after Second Amendment. And it's clear to us, of course. You get the other people tell you that's not what's going on. And they're also trying to register people with psychological disabilities, whatever, and put them in a database, and eventually put them in it's a eugenics plan, just like Ancestry.com is actually working for the government, and you think you're finding your ancestries, and all they're doing is putting you in a eugenics database and finding out who can have babies or not. And they you put your DNA in there, then they could they can spray a chemical that goes right after your DNA and target just your DNA or people in your family. So as they say, the path to hell is paid for in good intentions. Culture revolution. People thinking they're a part of doing on the cutting edge, and all's you're doing is it's a form of brainwashing, and thinking that technology, and we're in this place that no one has ever been before. They've been doing this stuff for thousands of years, and the technology that they have, they're just giving it to us. They're 200 years past us. 200 years the military has this stuff. They give it to us when it's obsolete. They give us all this stuff when it's obsolete, because everything is being used as weaponized. Our television is weaponized against us. The radio is weaponized against us. The weather, this chemtrails, the spraying, the heat, our religion, our food, everything is weaponized against you. Okay, that's just how it works. Political updates. A friend was telling me she moved to a shelter, and that they're letting all the transgender or transsexual men bunk with the women because, hey, let's get these political updates, right? So it's a joke. There is no democracy. There's only the illusion of democracy, and we don't have too much of a choice of a lot of things. Controlled opposition, MI6, SMOFs, Terrence McKinley, and what's the other guy's name? Timothy Leary. They work for the government, and they push this drug sensation. Well, I'm sorry, when you do drugs, it does not enlighten you. You're still the stupid idiot that was when you took the drug. It's not gonna enlighten. You're not gonna have any more information than you already have. It doesn't work. Feminism, you see what's going on with that. It's just weaponized stuff. Like there's a form of it that makes sense, but then, I mean, let's human rights, not all these division rights and sex and groups and stuff. Let's go on a little bit more. I covered a lot of stuff in my other videos, so let's see what else we got here. Give you a quote from George Benet Shaw, a socialist. Nonetheless, we know now that the soul is the body, and that the body the soul. They tell us they are different because they want to persuade us that we can keep our souls if we let them make our slaves of our bodies. I mean, that's so true. That your body and your soul are one. That's just how that works. But they'll try to convince you other ways, so maybe you sacrifice one. Back to this fandom, Christianity. I guess one of the reasons why America is so willing to give away their children to go to war is because, hey, God gave up his only begotten son, so shouldn't I? Predictive programming. See, things that go into your head and your subconscious, and then you rationalize them. You don't even know how you even came to that conclusion, but the higher ups do. Controlled opposition, democracy. Even if we did have a republic, I don't think it would make a difference, because if that's the same thing with them ushering in the science czars of people who are going to tell you they're an expert and this is what we should do, and how everybody starts to parrot, politically update people changing words like depopulation when you should be using genocide. Don't call it depopulation. See, because you'll Orwell said it best on you limit the words, you limit the thought. You control the words, you control the thought. So through these words, you shape your thought. And so when you say depopulation, other people might be thinking one thing when it's actually genocide. George Carlin's spoke about words and how people and how they just change them around and how it really shapes your thinking. Masons doing what they do, making the synthetic reality. That's what they do. So as everybody goes into the Hegelian of talking about these shooters, we need to be talking about psych meds and stuff like that. When you actually meet somebody who's on these psych meds, they're really nicest people. But I mean, I'm pretty sure they could probably mess somebody's head up to go do a shooting. But we know it was a hoax. He had a Rhodesia shirt on, and that's for the highbrows, and it's not really meant for the lowbrows. So as we gear to get ready to go to war with Russia, because it was already told. Zabriskie said we're going to do it. So whatever Zabriskie says is what we do. That's who really runs the show. And below him is Kissinger. And getting ready for their theater. The actors, I was talking to somebody the other day on that chat and texting, whatever. And I have my own sense of humor. And so they were bothering this guy for having on this military uniform on, and they were saying he wasn't a real officer, he was perpetrating whatever. And so I put a comment in like, shouldn't you guys be looking for terrorists instead of bothering people in costumes? And then anyway, we get into this thing about how could it be a costume? I said, well, look up the word war theater. Who works in a theater? Actors. What do actors wear? Costumes. These are actors. And I mean, probably actors that take their part too serious, but nonetheless, they're still actors. You put on a costume. A judge puts on a costume. A cop puts on a costume. A priest puts on a costume, and all of a sudden they're somebody. Like Superman isn't anybody until he puts this thing on. Another thing with Superman and predictive programming, they have in the beginning where they have the science way of where they make their babies and whatnot, and where women won't even get in the. They're ushering in where women won't even be able to be impregnated by a man. It'll be done in a laboratory, and their children also will be, or their fetuses will be in these laboratories. So I hope that wasn't too much information. I'm pretty sure everybody knows all this stuff. Uh, Anything for a head out? Yellow Submarine. Yeah, everybody lives in the in the Yellow Submarine. I mean, hopefully, the object of the game is to get out of the Matrix. The Yellow Submarine was just the analogy for the Matrix, and that how everybody believes in a lie. You know what I mean? Everything you've been told is a lie. Everything. But don't. And when I'm not talking about that weird stuff like, cognitive dissonance. You need to be very wary of it. It will mess your head up. Like David Icke pushing holograph universe will. Guess what? If you believe that, you'll go crazy. Hey, you believe that the moon is not real? Hey, you'll go crazy. So, I know some people, it's a war for your mind, the human domain, the mind. So, look, there's big pictures, there's small pictures, there's highbrow, lowbrow. Do your lowbrow here sometimes, but don't get stuck. And watch your gatekeepers. There's tons of them. There's so much psyops going on. Cult personalities. The cult personality. Check that out. Obviously, and I'm just not really with the bitch fessing and stuff, and social nudging through the Pavlovian response. And that's what, and we're getting ready to go to war with Russia, of course. And so just see how it all plays out. Okay, I'm out. Enjoy.